name is Keezeng Lee. I am a visual artist. I work with graphic design and graphite, and I'm originally from Minnesota, but I've lived in Iowa for the past 8 years. So I started working with graphite art back when I was just a little kid. I always loved doing little doodles and just drawings. And then when I got to high school, I started taking, the art classes and doing more of those. Eventually, I kind of just lost that passion as, you're growing up and you're going to college. So you kind of start focusing on different stuff like business. And then I took a year gap, and then I learned that I could just start pursuing graphic design. I got to graphic design as I learned I enjoyed doing both computer stuff and art stuff, and I can just combine both of them together. And that's how I found out about graphic design. And as I started working on the digital side with graphic design, I also picked up on doing graphite art again, just working with the powder and pencils, and it's just been a really fun thing to do. I think what I enjoy, so I have two different, so one's the digital side and then one's just the really traditional side, which is really funny. So I enjoy doing the traditional kind of art just because, it's your most basic. You can pretty much do it anywhere, paper and pencil, and you just start drawing and then you learn how to do your values. I think it's a really important thing learning about art. I moved a little bit towards the digital side as well, which is my graphic design. And I just enjoy, designing stuff, making posters, and it's just been really fun. And then you're pretty much just working with shapes and learning how to make something stand out so other people can read it. The process of making graphite art or just simple drawings is I look at images or just things I like, and I just start drawing and see what I can imagine doing with it. And I kind of just do rough sketches, and then I just keep doing a whole bunch of rough sketches, and then eventually I just kind of make one final sketch on a different piece of paper, and then I kind of just roll with that. Just kind of finish it up with the small little touches of, blending the corners, making sure the values are right. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And then the process for doing graphic design is almost similar to my traditional art. I like to just sketch it out on paper first, see what I like, see how it looks before I start committing to the digital software. And the digital software I mostly just use, and you'll find a lot of other graphic designs using, is probably just Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and stuff like that. When I'm on the digital side, working on the computer, I kind of just put the shapes where they need to be, fix everything around, figure out what font I like, what stands out, what doesn't, what's working, and that's kind of how I roll with the graphic design. And obviously I also have my supervisors or other people checking the work to make sure it looks right. Some of my favorite pieces, which you'll see in this exhibit, they all kind of evolve with like this robot human technology kind of thing, kind of see how they evolve together and like what you can explore with it. So the first one I made is like this human and this robot kind of being separated from each other, but they're still very connected with each other. And the reference from that is actually really funny because I got that from London. There was a statue showing those two kind of things, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I drew that out for my first piece, and then I ended up really loving it. So I kind of just roll with that for this exhibit. My other favorite piece is Reset. And what this piece has is a humanoid robot-looking figure waking up from its sleep. It's got a blanket draping over it. It's kind of just lifting it up. You can kind of see what's happening, and it's turned around looking at you. And it's still connected with wires and all the tubing to kind of show it's still connected, technology. It's almost like a motherboard, everything needs to be connected and moving, but it also looks very humanoid, like what the heck is going on? It's a really cool piece that I really enjoy. So what influences me is honestly just a lot of what I see on my daily basis. So I, sometimes play games or just watch TV shows, and it's just really cool to see like a fantasy kind of world. You could think of like Lord of the Rings, you got your dragons, your orcs, your knights, and your elves. You can jump into like a more futuristic kind of world. You have like your RoboCop, or even this new show that came out, I think a couple years ago called Cyberpunk, where you're just in this kind of future retro kind of world, with robots and humans. They're kind of just building off of each other. Those are just really cool things that I like to look at, and it's just really fun that I can imagine it in my own head and just work it out on a piece of art. What motivates me to create art is just having a simple passion for art, trying to put what I see in my head on paper or even on a screen, and just creating it and see how it can look on the paper. In your own head, it looks really good, but when you start doing it on the paper, it doesn't look the same. So I would love to just improve on myself, so that also helps motivates me. On the traditional side, where I see my artwork going for that, is just simply improving, learning how to be better at just simple sketches, working faster, learning and understanding my values and contrasts. Where I see in the future for my graphic design is simply just making better posters, understanding what fonts work, and then also moving more towards like the web design kind of style, as we're moving towards the future. So understanding how the software and the programming works behind that will be really helpful. One thing I would like everyone to know about me and my art is I consider myself still a beginner. I just, recently picked it up. I feel like I just got my skills back from high school. I'm still working on the traditional, trying to get better at it. It's been a while. It's almost like, you did a sport back in high school. 5 years later, you pick it up back again. Obviously, you're not at the point where you were. And it's just really fun to continue working, training yourself, learning to develop the skills even further.